This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of having Trillium Rose, a specialist in the golf industry, a motor learning expert, and a friend of the square here for us to educate us on what we need to know. So just explain to us in layman's terms, how you train someone, what the repetition is, how long it takes. Does it vary by age? I go skiing with my nephew and it seems like in 30 minutes he knows what he's doing and I'm still, 3 years later and my motor skills just haven't really picked up on that yet. So maybe just the biological component to this.
Right. You're asking a really tough question to answer in like 2 minutes.
All right, take 5. No, just kidding.
Well, I mean, what would be interesting for people to hear is kind of what applies to them. And I don't exactly know where everybody is, but generally speaking, golf on the spectrum of complexity, the golf swing is a highly complex movement. Mm-hmm. And it's not, it's kind of like throwing a ball. It's pretty complex to throw a ball well. It's not like, reaching and grabbing a glass from the table. Mm-hmm. Like there's just a lot of things that have to happen. So, or bowling, I'd say, or maybe rowing. But the problem with golf is that the ball is really small and the club face is really small. And so if you're off a little bit, it's going to show. So that being said, you can't do it all at once. You just can't jump in and say, okay, I'm going to take one lesson and I'm going to be there. It's like you have to layer stuff. You have to take steps. You have to kind of not, go one little stitch at a time. And when people understand that and that they've bought into it, that it's more of I'm your coach now. You're going to come and see me a lot and we're not going to do everything at once. Then people have the greatest successes.
Got it. So when you look at functional training or you look at fitness as a baseline for someone to actually affect the perfect golf game or enhance their swing, what do you tell people to do? What kind of protocols do you typically follow? Obviously, everyone's, has their own prescription and everyone's body type's different. But what are some of the things that you've been seeing to say, finally people understand that, stretching is important or people see that, doing functional training versus, cycling for their cardio, like people are finally starting to get that this is the foundation.
100%. So there's a group called Titleist Performance Institute. It was started by Dave Phillips and Greg Rose. And they basically approached Titleist and said, hey, you guys have put a lot of money into researching the golf ball, a lot of money into researching the club. Why not? Let's talk about the body, what the body can do, because isn't it an important piece of the puzzle? Right. Yeah, obviously, of course. And so all the great strength and fitness trainers in the world have set great groundwork for creating screens. And so Greg and Dave said, hey, let's make a golf screen. So for functional movement, let's check your mobility. Let's check your stability. Let's do the movements for you. Let's screen you to kind of give us a pretty good estimate of what issues you're going to have in your golf swing. Like if you can't do a deep squat, you're probably going to early extend. You're going to stand up a little too early through impact, for example. Multiply that by 20 different things. So I think that really got the conversation started in golf. Now, funny you should say, like, what do you recommend? I played 9 holes today and I was racing to the tee. I was literally there 1 minute before my tee time. And I'm like, okay, I don't have time to hit balls, but I know I need to stretch and I know I need to get warmed up. So the 2 things, to answer your question directly, the 2 things that are really important in the golf swing would be your glutes, your glute strength, and your hip mobility. If you can get that, you can get your hips going and get your glutes and your rotation from the ground up, you'll be okay.
Got it. I watch a fair amount of PGA, and there seems to be a lot of weightlifting going on either before people are playing 18 or after. How is weight training kind of evolved in the golf as a sport versus, like 10 or 15 years ago? That didn't seem to be part of the workout. At least I don't think it was, or maybe I wasn't aware of it.
I think more are. I mean, there's certainly a lot of people that are not working out that are playing well on tour. So I can't say that you have to play, you have to work out. But I do think to prevent injury, to be able to practice longer and harder and make use of more repetitions, it's helpful if you're strong to do that. I've also seen people work out the wrong muscle groups and you don't really need a ton of pec strength, for instance, in golf. So there are things that you can do that I think are less useful than others. So if you're doing it and you're doing it in a smart way, I think mobility is important. Mobility and stability. If you get, it can focus on getting some isolation if you're lower, and move your upper, isolate your lower, that kind of thing. That's probably better than getting just brute strength.
Gotcha. So let's take Florida as an example. You've got a lot of 55 and older golfers down there. And then we just had a podcast before where I was asking a woman, what kind of recommendation do you have for exercising, X types of people? And she's like, just move. That's all you need to do, is just make sure people keep moving, and the rest will kind of work itself out. So when you have either new golfers that are coming to you, or you're seeing people that you've seen for a long time, what are you recommending to them to do outside of that session that they're having with you, and what kind of receptivity and results are you seeing from people that may have been more sedentary and just play golf and ride a golf cart, and now it's like, hey, I actually have people doing X, Y, Z, and it's affecting them tremendously in their rest of their lives?
I love it when people walk. So if someone comes to me with a really light bag, I am delighted, because it tells me that they're carrying it.
Right.
That right there is a big deal. And the golf cart has been helpful in a lot of ways, but it also kind of defeats the purpose, I think, of getting the exercise. So, and not everybody has the option to, take a caddy, and not everyone can take a pull cart, but, get out there and walk. It's not easy to ask people to go to the gym and work out. So I like to give people drills that they can do at home. And so light exercises, but, on my Instagram, every now and then I'll put exercises, just, isometrics, things you can do without weights, things you can do with your own body weight. You can do literally, if you have a floor, you can do them. I'm a mom. I've got stuff going on. I mean, I'm all about just squeezing it in when you can squeeze it in. If you can't get to the gym, that's fine.
Gotcha. What are you seeing in this new generation of golfers and, kids that are just starting with the sport? One from the motor skill side of it and ability to learn quickly. Are you seeing kids taking care of themselves and doing the fitness and nutrition, like the athletes? What's your crystal ball or prognosis on where we're heading? Is there too much information out there that people are like, forget it, I'm just going to go eat my Snickers bar, or like, hey, I'm actually learning and that this next wave of golfers is going to be bigger, better, faster, more mobile, and putting up numbers that no one's ever seen before?
I mean, who knows what the whole country is doing, but I've got some friends doing some great things that are including a lot of exercises and a lot of drills and work inside. And I thinking especially of, Jason Nish, who has Peak Golf down the street where I am from. He's got a group of teenagers, really, some adults, but he's got a gym and it's focused on golf. And so I send any of my teenagers that can go there, they go. And he uses KVS, which is the 3D training. So, for instance, I had a girl who over-rotated in the top of her backswing. Her abs weren't very strong. So I set the program up so that she could use the vest, and there's an audible tone if she makes a swing that goes too far back. So she's doing that under guidance from him, but it was directed by me. And it's all kind of a fitness, but it's under the auspices of, hey, she needs to get stronger in order to do that. Like, I can only do so much. If your body's not strong enough or inflexible or whatever, like, okay, you got to go see someone else. And I think more than ever, good golf coaches are pairing up with fitness professionals and kind of meshing, their conversations.
Got it. So as you look to, and obviously we're doing this over a, what is this called? StreamYard or Skype? StreamYard. When you think about the ability to be able to help people remotely, how much have you pushed into that on your own as an instructor? What's your comfort level doing that? And do you feel that it's great that I have the reach, but I don't really have the intimacy of like actually helping someone one-on-one? Because there's talk about telemedicine, and you never have to go to a doctor anymore, and everything can be done online. Where do you feel your comfort level is? Yeah, I can scale who I am in my business, but I'm also like, I don't want to give up the quality control and what I'm really giving someone, which is not just, this isn't just a computer interface. Like, the time you spend with me, I can't quantify it, but trust me, like, us spending time together is important.
Right. I gave a talk on this at the PGA show.
I didn't see it. I swear, I haven't seen it yet.
You wouldn't have it.
I wouldn't. It wasn't in the room. Go ahead.
The coaches, but I really, the topic of it was effective teaching, principles of effective teaching through the internet.
Okay.
And I spelled out, if you want to have an academy, here's, from a motor learning standpoint, the pieces that need to be in place. So there are definitely some hurdles, but it's not impossible to do. It just takes a long time. Now, I personally am in a position where I have a lot of people that I see already face to face, and I don't have the time at the moment to do that. Although I have done some online lessons before. I've been surprised at how positive the feedback's gone, because it's hard. I feel like it's not as good of a lesson if I've not seen ball flight and I don't really have a good interview. Now, however, there are definitely some people doing some good things. Now, let me just speak really specifically on learning and what you need if you're going to go on YouTube, because there's YouTubes everywhere. I put out minute-long videos on my Instagram, and people like that because 1 minute's an appetizer. I have no idea if the person needs it. I'm just putting stuff out there, and hopefully it's like vitamin C. It's like kale. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's only going to help. So, but here's the thing. So if you don't know where your error is, if you don't know what the issue is in your movement pattern, then it's going to be pretty tough for you to be able to figure out how to fix it. So you have to have a good diagnosis. So I think you either have to, wherever you're going to get that done, a coach yourself or whatever. You have to know what you're doing. B, you've got to be able to feel the error, because if you can't feel it, then you don't know when it's happening. And then that leads me into the next, is that you have to be able to feel the correct way. So there are definitely some ways to do that online, but you need a very robust database or library of videos to make it explicitly clear. And then the other thing is, when someone's learning, you want to push so that it's hard as a learner, but not too hard, and also not too easy. And so, you want to be right on that cusp of challenge. So it's challenge. Well, it's very hard to get there on your own, right? So if I'm giving this to you online or giving it to you through an internet, I can still provide you with, here's the progression. You're going to start with this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. And this is going to be the next thing. It is totally possible. How do you know if you're doing it well on your own? We have to figure out a way to construct some kind of environment that's going to give you feedback, basically.
Got it. Have you used any of these functional body mapping software? I know like TRX has you basically do 3 squats, and then it'll tell you all of your different joints and how your movement, and then gives you a terrible score. And then you go see a personal trainer and they sell you a 10-pack. That's kind of what's happening in the fitness industry right now. It's
funny. We've got, so K-Motion is this company. They started out as K-Vest about 10, 15 years ago. Now, which is the name. So it's a 3D system. It's wearable technology, 4 or 5 sensors. I have the 4 sensor. And you make some swings and it spit out a really great summary. Here's the diagnostic. You're rotating this much. You're over rotating. You're going too fast. You're going too slow. Here's your speeds. Here's your position. Here's your acceleration profiles and whatnot. And so, if you go off of that, you have a pretty good starting point. And then you can also train with it with biofeedback, which is cool. So as far as technology goes, I think that they're the leader in the clubhouse.
Got it. Interesting. So as you've gone through and helped people, have you ever thought about bringing some of your programming inside of a club or inside of a studio, or any of your stretching techniques, and kind of curated that into any kind of shortened, video, not 1 minute, but longer? And how do you think about, we have entrepreneurs come in and say, I'm building this big business and this is where I'm going and it's going to be global. And then we have people that say, like what we just had now, said, look, I've got this really awesome wellness resort retreat in Portugal, and that is the extent of what I want to do. And I help the people that come, and it's awesome. And I'm not leaving because I've already kind of won the prize.
Yeah.
I don't need to expand to get anything because I already have what I want. So how do you think about you as a instructor, as you have your family, you have your priorities, but you have a business. So how do you think about that on your own and say, I'm achieving everything I want to achieve, and you're not necessarily trying to be an entrepreneur that's trying to conquer some golf vertical?
Yeah,
if that's fair.
I get it. So in the winter, I've done these classes in line. I have these cut down golf clubs, and I call it a mobility class. And it's basically a golf lesson without a ball, with a cut down club and a molded grip. And so we go through several stretches and exercise that pertain to the various phases of the swing, but then cover some really specific mechanics too. And because the player doesn't have to hit a ball, they don't have that pressure of doing it quickly or, being distracted by the outcome. I've only done that in person, but I've often thought that would be a really great sort of video. I can't imagine myself selling it. I probably would just give it out for free on YouTube. I've been having a lot of fun on Instagram. I've been having a lot of fun just giving stuff away. And, it's an interesting time, I think, because the people that are interested most in that, besides the players, are companies, and companies that want to reach a specific audience through a genuine source. And so, it's just sort of it's been fun for me.
That's great. So one thing you just said, which if you can expand on it, because I think it was a great quote, it's not just in golf, it's probably in everything. You just said, don't be distracted by the outcome. Can you talk, where did that come from? Or did you just come up with that? Because it struck me as people get focused on where they think they're going to get to and forgot where they are or what the progress they've made.
Yeah, I've used that a lot when we're in the moment and you're hitting, and you picked it up kind of in a more like a life situation. I think that's interesting. I use it often in golf when people are playing, because there's the movement. I get tons of people that are really athletic, that they played. This is actually usually my hardest student. My most difficult clients are the ones that are athletic, that have played high level of a different sport and come over to golf and feel like they can just be an athlete and make it work. So yeah, and they usually can, but the problem is the way you made it work, the movement you made may cause issues down the road. And so I'll say, okay, we've got to put a net in front of you, so you're not trying to hit a shot, because I need you to feel something. And I
feel like you're diagnosing my first instruction lesson that would be with you, as I try and do a slap shot from the left wing into the net. And you're like, look, we're not putting a ball down. You're missing the point of this.
Yeah, you don't get a ball.
Thank you. Thank you for exposing me. Keep going on a no-names basis.
Not mentioned anyway. But you get the idea. And I think,
yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I think there's, looking at it from your point, or I guess how you pick that up, what about how you're going? What about the quality of what you're doing? Or what about being present? What about, I feel like my memory is pretty good, but it's exceptionally good because I'm so focused on what I'm doing when I'm doing it. And I think that's what's been my kind of my biggest strength, is just being able to connect with people because I'm completely focused and undivided.
That's amazing. That's going to be my takeaway for the day, I think, because we've been doing a lot of podcasts, and that's the one that struck me as the quote that I'm gonna think about and dissect and focus on myself. So as you look at exercise in general, and where obviously we've got food companies out there putting more ingredients, and we have no idea what's really in them, and you've got childhood obesity and diabetes and all these factors and misinformation. How do you view the future, and what else do you think we need to do from an education standpoint or from an accessibility standpoint, or should we be subsidizing people getting on a golf course and into a basketball court? Or what are some of the things that you see either from a policy standpoint or from, just locally that you're like, I wish this would be happening, or this is happening and I'm excited about it?
I keep hearing the word wellness. I think wellness it's like the word of the decade, I hope. More people are talking about wellness and more people are thinking it, more wellness programs are tacked on to hotels and that kind of thing. So it's now not as nutty crunchy to be healthy.
Right.
And that's great. I mean, wasn't like sitting down. Everyone realizes, wow, sitting down is so terrible for you. Now we need to be standing up. So that's common knowledge now.
Yeah, that's good. The stand-up desk industry definitely had a big lift, and we've got stand-up desks here all the time. So
yeah, so
everyone's standing up.
We're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
As far as food goes, it's a double-edged sword though, because every time someone wants to find something, you go online, you can find whatever you're looking for.
Sure.
Even as a parent, it's like, well, what do I want to hear? I'll just type around until I find it.
Until you find what you want to hear. Exactly. Exactly.
Like a little worried that we, that the industry leaders need to stay strong and stay real and stay tuned in and plugged in, and hopefully their audiences realize that they're genuine.
That sounds great. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for educating us on the golf sector and motor learning, and giving me some good quotes for the rest of our network and for us to think about whether they're playing golf or whether they're absorbing the moment that they're in, and the outcome will be the outcome if you put in the focus and the time. So thank you, Trillium. Pleasure.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
All right. Have a great one. Appreciate it. Bye. This is Pete Moore. As you know, I am a big believer in personal development. I got a time-saving opportunity here for you, recommending Dan Millman's 4 Purposes of Life. Go to audible.com/Halo Talks. You want to register there, get a free audiobook. It's $14.95 a month thereafter, giving you things that I do to make myself better, and hopefully it makes you better. Go Halo. Let's play to win.